it all behind you. I said, take down everything that stands in your way. Don't stop believing it'll work out again, my friend. Stand out and be a part of everything good. Wake up, you're gonna be all that you should. Try out all the things you always wanted to be. You'll see, 'cause I know what I know, that you've got it in you, and I see that you are a winner.
So, how to tell if your God is man-made? How do you tell? My thought is, if you think of the time period that gods are invented, okay, or were invented, you're talking about a couple thousand to a lot more than that, but we're talking thousands of years ago. I believe all the gods that exist today were invented thousands of years ago. I don't think there's really any modern gods. They're all really old. You know, from the days when we were shaking beads and cringing at the sight of a falling star. Okay, so thousands of years ago. What were humans like thousands of years ago? What did they fear? They had rulers, kings. And what were the qualities or the characteristics of their rulers and kings? Well, they had certain needs and requirements, these rulers and kings. They wanted to control. They wanted to put out laws to control their subjects. They wanted gifts and offerings. They wanted obedience and loyalty. They wanted those who had wronged them to grovel and beg at their feet for forgiveness. They required praise and admiration. These are things that human kings, the characteristics, some of the characteristics, they wanted to conquer. They wanted to rule and have obedient subjects. These are characteristics of human kings. Consider the qualifications. Well, that's the wrong word. Popped into my mouth, sorry. That's what happens in the morning. Consider the characteristics that we give to our gods. How different are these characteristics? We even imagine our gods are kings ruling over us. And they require all the same things that a human king ruling a kingdom requires. They require obedience, adherence to the certain laws and decrees. They require admiration and praise and groveling and begging for forgiveness if they're wronged. They require all the same things that human kings require. Our gods that we invent require these things. Ego stroking, praising, worshiping, idolizing, make huge monuments to honor me. Yeah, I think a sure sign that a god is human invented is the characteristics assigned to that god. Jealous, vain, must have its way, actually gives a damn about the little whatevers, little minions, you know, it rules over. Needs, requires, needs, must have things. We give the same characteristics to our man-made gods as we give to our kings, or that our kings have. We imagine there's a kingdom in heaven. We imagine there's a king ruling that kingdom. And there's certain little things you have to do to get in the front door. And if you don't get in the front door, it's like, well, let's examine what kings did in the past to those that weren't in their kingdom. They obliterated well, it was kind of at God's command, but they obliterated the enemy. They obliterated the towns that would not surrender. Little mercy is shown for those that don't knuckle under the whip. I wrote this thing on Facebook this morning. I guess I've kind of been thinking about this subject for a while. My thoughts this morning on what would be a true God. A true God would not need anything, or desire, or want for anything. A perfect being would not require anything, period. For if it did, it would not be perfect anymore. Things like, do you worship, grovel, or praise it enough would not remotely cross its mind. It would be far above the need for ego stroking, obedience, or sacrifice. These things are human notions of what a king wants. And it is a sure sign that God is invented by humans if it needs, wants, or demands such trivial things. That said, if this God existed, it would be more like the Force in Star Wars, and less like a jealous, demanding, brooding king. It would serve a necessary function of some kind. It would manifest itself as freely as the wind or the northern lights or the moon pulling at the sea. It would be a visible, tangible part of reality, needing nothing. Only then would the existence of God matter. Yeah, there was a thing on Facebook about, does the existence of God matter? And this is the response that I made. And then I'm thinking about it. It's like, if it serves a purpose, a crucial, important, necessary purpose, benefiting reality in some way, or supporting reality in some way, then yeah, the existence of God would matter. But every God that I know of is very small. There's no God on this planet that is big enough. All these gods that we worship, that humans worship, are man-made invention. Why can't I enunciate today? Man-made inventions. They have the same characteristics as human kings serving or ruling over their little kingdom. They have their little favorite tribe of people. Limited. So limited. Oh, God can't save God can't save that child in the burning house because God can't interfere with God can't. God has limitations. The human gods, all of them that we invent, have limitations. There's always certain things that God can do. God can't do this because the earth is Satan's jurisdiction. Even though God made Satan and it's all part of God's divine plan, can't do that. It's Satan's jurisdiction. Well, he can in 1,000 years. Satan gets to have his time on earth for this long, and then God. Oh, let's put limitations on God, shall we? Well, God would never do that. My God, that's not what my God would do. That's not what my God. The God you're describing, that isn't my God. My God would never do that. Do you realize that when you say stuff like that, you are putting limitations on your God? If your God has characteristics, personality, if it has a personality, if it has tendencies, then it has limitations. The moment you assign characteristics to your God. Oh, my God will do this and he won't do that. My God loves Christians and hates gays. You know what? You're putting limitations on your God. He's no longer a perfect, infinite being. He's limited. He has to work within the boundaries that you've created that he is. He's limited. He's small. He's little. He's not big enough to create the universe. He's not big enough to rule over not just planet Earth and little monkey creatures, but the entire universe and everything in it. He's not that big. He can't even have any effect on the planet because he has limitations. Certain things that prevent him. Oh, God can't do that because free will. Well, you put a limitation on him. Can't do it because of free will. Oops. Guess he's limited. Your God is limited. He's small. He's a human ruling over a kingdom up in the clouds. You have taken a human king and dressed him up in whatever and thrown him up on a throne in the clouds. And he's small. He's little. He's limited. He's human. Sure sign that you're on your religion is false. You worship a human in the clouds. You worship a man-made God. Show me a God that is real and I will show you a God that doesn't give a rat's ass about such things as obedience or sacrifices or worship or how much you worship or if you believe or not. Do you think a real God would give a damn if you believe in it or not? How does that affect its day if monkey creature down here on this speck of a planet believes or not? I mean, think about it. It's a God. It's the creator of the fucking universe. You know how big the universe is? Do you think a God would care if little Diane on this little speck of dust believes in it or not? Do you think this God that created the universe would care who you sleep with? We have such a small idea of what... It doesn't take much for humans to think something is worthy of worship. Just take a human, put it up in the sky, call that realm above the clouds heaven, the kingdom of heaven with its king and its foot soldiers, aka angels. It's just human stuff that we've put up in the sky. And I'm sorry, but if that's what you believe in, if that's what your religion's all about, you believe in a human-made God. It's not real. It's not true. It's ridiculous. So anyway, those are my thoughts about the subject. I guess that's it. So if you've been watching, thanks. Bye.